Hey everyone, another great episode coming at you with Brett Lucier, owner of Provincial Glass and founder of Fight To End Homelessness. We talk about culture, the importance of building a team, surrounding yourself with the right people to optimize your performance as an entrepreneur. We also talk about the importance of community and giving back to your community, as Brett has created one of the most exciting charity events in London, Ontario, Fight To End Homelessness. Excited to bring this to you. Let's go. Brett Lucier, so excited to have you on our podcast, owner of Provincial Glass and founder of Fight To End Homelessness. But we'll get into that. I have personally known you for several years. I was thinking about how we met, and funny story that you're not going to know about, but I met you at a golf tournament. It was a rival golf tournament, and we didn't actually officially meet, but I was at your table, and I think it was like you, Derek Sloan, some other people, and I'm at this golf tournament. I'm like, who are these fucking guys? They're like, you guys were like these like young kind of business owners, entrepreneurs, and I'm like, I got to get into this space with these guys. And I think after that, I emailed you, I introduced myself, and we became kind of acquaintances and that sort of thing. But anyways, I digress. But thanks for coming on.
What did you mean by rival golf tournament?
It's like
rival, like the
what is
like
that?
the brand, like
Yeah,
they're competing.
They're
like
a printing company.
Printing
Or
company,
like
yeah.
printing, like yeah. But they're
okay.
It's a great golf tournament.
Yeah.
Reason I probably don't remember meeting you is that it is that good of a golf tournament.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean,
I was going to say it was a good time.
It was a good time. It's where a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners can kind of just let loose and have a good time. So,
Enjoy it.
and we really enjoyed that day. So I think it was a great tournament. So.
Well, hey, that was my. I mean, everything was good. I think the older business owners were up there getting hammered, but you were very steady, man. I was very impressed. So nice job. On that.
I'm a good marathon player that way. It's
definitely
not a sprinter. I'm a marathon.
How long ago? When was that?
Oh man, that was pre-COVID, probably 5 years ago or something like that.
So we're not going to age ourselves too much here.
No,
That's okay.
no. I mean, well, pre-COVID and post-COVID, but yeah. I mean, thanks for coming on. We got a lot of really cool stuff to talk to you about. I mean, we can start with. I would personally like to start with your family, your background, that sort of thing. Yeah. I know you have two brothers as well.
I do.
And I know your one brother, Reed.
Yep.
Another entrepreneur that maybe we'll have him on at some point.
Should. He's incredible, actually.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate, actually. I got two great brothers.
Yeah.
So, and you don't have favorites. I do. I love both my brothers. So I'm very lucky. We grew up close. We all played competitive sports growing up. We all, we're incredibly close.
Yeah.
So,
Can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah.
Was there blood and tears growing up?
100%.
Okay.
100%. So,
because I got three boys, and if one day I can hear one of them say how much they love their brothers, then there's hope.
This is amazing.
Then there's
I
hope.
didn't know we were going here.
Being the oldest, I led most of it, unfortunately. And looking back at it, I also believe that's why my youngest brother now is an OPP officer.
Oh,
because I think we kind of not beat him up so bad, but I mean we made him tough. I think that's the way we looked at it. Is we toughened him for life. So I think we were big wrestling fans growing up.
Wow.
And we like to try the moves on each other, and we learned quickly that those sliding plastic covers on the bottom that your chairs roll on, you flip them over. They got pins on the spikes on the back.
Oh,
so
shit.
yeah, we learned things like that when we were younger, and So I think both my brothers have post-traumatic stress from it growing up.
That's wild.
But you get along now.
Yeah, we always have, actually. And it's great. Being the oldest, my brothers, I always felt they have kind of looked up to me, and it's always been kind of cool to kind of help them out and mentor. And now we get to the age where it's kind of reversed. They're really helping me too. So
nice.
We've been close. Like again, I'm born and raised in London. We're born and raised, and Reed has kind of toured around. He's kind of been the one that's kind of gone coast to coast. He's been Halifax. He's been Vancouver. He's been all over. So he's been kind of the one that's traveled the country more.
Awesome.
My brother Kent, the youngest one, the baby, he's the biggest of the three of us, and I'll say it on this. He's the best hockey player out of the three of us.
There you go.
Which hurts me to say, but I got to put it out.
Quote of the day.
I got to put it out there. So I mean, That one may come back to bite me later. But I mean, yeah,
he's not listening.
He's not. No.
Who are we kidding?
Yeah,
he's got more important shit.
I've heard you talk about your dad on some other episodes about him being like an influence and that sort of thing. What did your parents do? You become this like very influential business owner in our city, and someone that is very admirable in how you approach community with your business and that sort of thing. What were you influenced by? Maybe what your parents did, or maybe with your brothers. Like, how did you have that mindset?
Growing up, both my parents are incredibly sociable.
Yeah.
We again, I mentioned we all played competitive sports. My parents were always there. They were always the fun parents. They were always the people that were there supporting. They both worked full-time jobs, but yet they found time to bring 3 boys to competitive baseball, hockey, tournaments, everything like that we wanted to do. Yeah. They were there. So, I'll talk about my dad. My dad's my rock.
Nice.
Always has been. I get a little emotional when I talk about it just because of how much he does mean to me. Yeah. I think for him, he everybody liked him. Everybody likes him. And really? I mean, I run into people. He's been retired for almost 20 years now, and there's people that will come up to me and like, "Oh, you're Dave's son." Such da 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 da. Wow. I knew him, and I'll talk to my dad. My dad will remember them. Wow. Like, that's the kind of thing. Like, he's just like, yeah, I did this. He was a CN bank manager for many years, so he knew all of the railroad guys and things like that. Okay, but there was never been a person that has said a bad word about my dad. So the thing I've always said is that, if I'm doing something right, if I'm half as good as my dad, or people like me half as much as my dad, I'm doing all right. And I think that's kind of been my goal. Yeah. Just to kind of just be be likable. I mean, it's I enjoy people liking me. It's a good thing to have.
Well, it's good to have in business too, right?
It is.
I mean,
And I was going to ask, is that a conscious element as you've been growing your business and kind of going through your journey where you're like, it kind of pays to pay attention to people, to remember people, treat them kindly? Like,
absolutely.
Good point.
Do you think that that's had a big impact?
I tell people a lot about that when we talk about networking, like the importance of networking, getting out there and getting your name out there and getting, that if you're going out there asking for gimme, you're not going to get.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, the idea is you support other people and you're going to start seeing it come back.
Reciprocation.
Yeah. Reciprocation is 100%. That's kind of the way it works. So, I mean, if you just show up, that's part one. Yeah. Part two is, supporting others, especially in our community. I mean, that's one of the biggest things that you can possibly do is, to be able to start giving back and supporting other businesses.
Awesome.
Yeah. Coming on awesome podcasts. I mean, that's
well, yeah. I mean, you definitely put yourself out there for sure, which is amazing. And now, I mean, like, do you see yourself as more introverted or extroverted, or has that changed for you over 100%. Time? Perhaps, yeah.
So yeah, when I first started. So I took over ownership in my partial ownership in about 2010.
Provincial Glass.
Provincial Glass.
Yeah, I want to talk about
so
that,
we'll get into that a little bit more. But when I first started getting into more of a management and ownership as part of it, networking became a huge part of it. Yeah, and that was something that I was not really good at. Like, I was fine. Like, I could play competitive sports. I could hang out with the boys, have a good time. But then to go to a professional setting and talk about my business and try and generate work from that, I hated it.
Really?
And I didn't like it at first. I would be the one that'd go there and I'd just sit in the corner. And then one time something clicked, and all of a sudden I became extremely extroverted, and I was the guy that was showing up, shaking hands and high-fiving people and buying drinks and having a good time. And I found, wow, I love this. Yeah. And so it really switched, and then it made things really easy.
Can you pinpoint anything that flicked that switch in particular that kind of got you off your ass and out of that corner?
Other than alcohol?
If you're buying
events. I wanted to, I felt that that's what needed to be done to help my business and myself. And I had to push myself through that uncomfortable zone, and it worked.
So liquid courage, and then who doesn't want a free drink if somebody's buying?
Yeah, right? I mean,
that's true, right?
Absolutely.
Point. We got to go to more networking events, don't we, Scotty? Yeah. That's.
But that was a tough thing, obviously, with Provincial Glass. I mean, that was a position that I wasn't in, and then I was in, and now, with Provincial Glass, I started at the bottom. Like, that was one thing where the advantage that I have over some entrepreneurs and over some people in business is that I literally started at the bottom.
Yeah. I want to explore that with you because I find that really fascinating. I think that many people might be in a career or a position in a job thinking they're stuck and not realizing that there's opportunities, or you have the flip side where you quit your 9 to 5 and you start this entrepreneurial journey or business or that sort of thing. But you literally right from the bottom climbed the ladder. Like, this is an amazing story that I think like a lot of our listeners will be so inspired by.
And just to kind of carry that forward before we kind of let the story fly, I think we're in an age now too. There's a lot of business owners don't have a succession plan. So if you're one of those employees and you're invested in the business, not maybe financially, but like, you know, the gig inside out, you've climbed a notch or two up the ladder and you think you might be interested in ownership.
Yeah.
There are like almost countless businesses where there is no succession plan. Maybe there's no kids to take it over, or the kids are doing something else and they're not interested in taking over the family business. So, you know, if you have that entrepreneurial, you know, spirit inside of you and you don't really want to take that risk from starting a completely new business, and man, like your story, I think is probably a nice one to share because I think more than ever, that opportunity exists for a lot of people.
Yeah. You never know where life's going to lead you. I mean, I think for me, like I originally, I wanted to be an architect. That was my goal.
Wow.
You know, I was going to go to the University of Michigan. I wanted to be an architect. That's where everything was going. First year room and board was something about $30,000. My parents said, how about fan shop? You know, and I said,
sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see. I could be an architectural technologist. So I did. I went through the course. I loved it. And then I got out of school and I was working with architects and engineers. And I said, I hate this.
Really, eh?
I hate this.
Yeah.
Because one, you know, in that position, you're doing somebody else's dirty work. You're not out front. You're not, it's not something that was fulfilling. And then, so I bounced around a couple different jobs. I designed kitchens at Rona for a bit and or building box at the time. And that was a great job. Loved that job because there was no stress on me. I got to be the only guy working in there. I got to do design. I got to move heavy things around when I wanted to, drive forklifts. It's a great job. And then that kind of led me into Provincial Glass because the kitchens needed glass. And I called around to companies and sure enough, they were looking for a junior estimator. Started there literally at the bottom. And part of it was I wanted to learn the trade. So I was in the office estimating and then I was in the field as a helper. And I've told the story a couple times as I quickly got the nickname 50-50 because I broke 50% of the glass I put in. So it was not one of my strengths, right? So you and your fat fingers get back in the office. We're going to use your mind instead of your brawn. So I think that's kind of the way it kind of went. And 50-50. So I kind of it kind of went from there. And then I learned the business more. I got to have the appreciation of working out in the field and working with the guys, but then working in the office, I really got to use some of my architectural skills with, computer drafting and a lot of the Excel and spreadsheets and things like that. So I think it really pulled on some of my education. And then I really found a new passion. I really got into it. I got to learn more and I was learning every day. And then, I had good management at the time and I had good ownership and, they kind of, helped pulled me along. And, dangled the right carrot when I needed the carrot. And, one thing led to another and I just kept going up and up and up. So, went from, the shop manager to, general manager to vice president and kind of went up, and then ownership and from there. And then sole owner and bought out my partner in 2017. So,
wow.
Allowed him to retire and, spend his days in Sarnia and, or Bahamas or wherever he is now. So
why you did you show aspirations or was there something about you? Did you want that?
No, I didn't actually. So, I just showed up and did my job. And the one thing I did and I somewhat regret a little bit is, there was a patch there for 7 years. I didn't take a vacation. I was there every day.
Wow.
I was the first one in. I was the last one to leave, and every day. So I treated it like it was my own business
already.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of really what got to the point is I had a little bit of burnout, and I questioned myself at that time, but I realized that I was really good at it, and And the more I got, the higher up I got, you know, my management skills got better, my, you know, dealing with staff. And that was a tough thing to go with as well too. Cause again, going from like below people,
right.
you know, like being, and then being equals and then being their boss.
Right.
It was a very difficult thing. Cause a lot of these, you know, techs and stuff like that, we'd go out and we'd go drinking, we'd go partying, we'd have, you know, fires on the weekend and music and have a good time.
Yeah.
Now it's like, boss. I'm the boss and I can't do that anymore. Right. So it was difficult. There were some that could handle it, some that couldn't. And, you know, but, it was a difficult time. But again, here we are.
A couple things I'd love to unpack there a little bit, dig in a little deeper. So the one thing I heard you say is you learned every day, right? And I think that mindset right there had been the willingness to learn. Mm-hmm. I feel like if you think you figured it all out, you aren't moving anywhere. Yeah. Like you're stuck in the mud.
It's a good point, man.
Right?
I think we have that like in high school. I think I had that. I thought I had the world figured out in high school, we all right?
Do.
It's like I'm a genius. People are idiots. But 100%. I think that's it. And then it doesn't matter what career you're in. There's always so much more to learn.
Always. Like and not even just in work and life, right? Like I'm still learning. And that's something I don't know where.
As a parent, I learn every day.
I don't know where, when something clicked or somebody told me and I was like, man, like, why not just be a lifelong learner and have that willingness to be open that you don't know everything and to be open. And even though you might be pretty bright and you might own your own business and be what one would call successful, that doesn't mean that there's not more to learn.
I love that saying where they say, you know, you've got 2 eyes and 2 ears and 1 mouth. You should be listening and watching more, twice as much as you should be talking. Yeah. And I love that because I do. If you watch people and you watch and listen, you learn so much more.
Well, it's hard though, right? Because I mean, as business owners, you know, you have this ego. It's just part of the MO. Like you've got, you almost, whether it's fake or not, you have to have this confidence. You have to have this ability to believe in yourself that you are right most of the time. I mean, you're a leader. Yeah. People are looking at you for leadership. And I think, Scott, I love how you say that, like be a lifelong learner. And I think that that's powerful, right? As an entrepreneur, because you do have to kind of check your ego sometimes. You be like, I may not know all these things. Yeah, I might be the stupidest person in this room, but when I leave, I'm gonna, be a little bit smarter.
Right. I also love that saying though too. Yeah. If you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room. You're in the wrong room. Because I love that.
Me too.
I say that all the time.
Yeah, me too.
So true.
So that was key. I picked that up, and then the other piece, and it resonated with me because I had the same advice one day, and I don't know if it was advice or you just kind of instinctively thought it, but you thought, I'm going to act as if it is my business. It wasn't. Yeah. You're just an employee. Yeah. But your actions, your behaviors, the way you carried yourself, the mindset going into your work day, it was as if you were the owner. And young in my sales career, and I went to school to be a firefighter, stumbled into sales because not many departments are looking for 20-year-olds to join the club. And it was the dealer principal. And he's like, look, if you want to be a dealer one day, start pretending and behaving as if you own the store today. If you get home from work today and there's a Tim Hortons cup on your lawn, are you just gonna leave it there? Right. You're gonna pick it up. It's your home. You got some pride of ownership. So when I came to work, I used to do a lot walk and I would clean up the trash. It wasn't my job.
Simple thing.
It wasn't in my job description, but I took some pride. Right. And I became a manager relatively quickly after I hit the floor. And I don't think I would have, A, if I wasn't willing to learn, and B, if I didn't have that shift in mindset that said, you know what, like if I owned this store, what would I be doing right now? Yeah, how would I approach my day? And maybe that's a little takeaway for folks who are looking for that next step is like, well, what are you bitching and moaning and whining and complaining about all the nonsense that's going on?
I think that's what showed to the ownership at the time, the management and ownership. And that's kind of what helped me progress is that I genuinely cared. Yeah. And I think if you have an employee that genuinely cares, that as an owner, you love that. Because you can see it, right? Because they do show pride. They do show ownership. They care about the work they put out. And again, that's what I try and instill in all my guys right now. All my staff is that, if you should be proud of the work that you do. You should be proud of, you know, the company that you work for. You know, that's really what at the end of the day is, I want you to go home and have pride in what you did and tell your family I had a great day.
Building a cohesive culture. And I know you're big on that. And is that something you do intentionally with your staff and with your people to really build that positive culture?
I mean, I think the thing for me is, again, I've grown up playing competitive sports. Right. So that sport culture, I transfer that to business. Because, I mean, there's nothing better than that. You know, you bring a team together, you have a single plan, you all kind of work, you know.
You have your role within the team.
You have your role within the team. Everybody does their job. It makes things a lot easier. You know, when such and such doesn't have a great day, well, you know what? You better have a better day. You know, pick them up, right? We're here all together. We spend more time with the people at work than we do our actual family. So, I mean, I don't want you to hate your job, ever. You know, there's going to be good days and bad days. We're going to have jobs that go good and jobs that go bad. But at the end of the day, I want you to have pride in what you do and enjoy what you do. You know, you should be proud. You know, like I know I drive around the city and I think, you know, my wife and my kids and, you know, I'll point stuff out and say, hey, we did this, we did that. They get, Dad. Sure. Whatever. You know, I'm like, hey, we did this building, you know. You know, I came in this building. I'm like, hey, we did these windows. We did, you know, it's, you know, I have pride in the stuff we do. And I want my guys to do that too. And when I hear that they do that with their family and with their kids, I love that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, when's the last time you broke glass though?
Yesterday.
Yesterday.
So
like, is the nickname still true? Or?
No, soft office hands now. Soft office hands. So things are.
That's great.
I don't have to touch the glass as much anymore.
I want to talk about kind of pivoting. Oh man, that word, fucking pivoting. We heard that about a million times over COVID.
That was COVID. I
am going there because I think it's important for us to talk about, because during COVID, you did become this business that was needed, highly needed for these transparent barriers. And, so you became a very important part of the solution.
We had to fully pivot into that.
I you know, before
like new designs.
I was thinking about it. I really want to ask you about that.
Yeah.
Like what happened?
Well, and that was it exactly. We had to figure out ways to do things that we didn't do before. So that was you know, how to hang things, how to have support, how to make, you know, tie things in together so that people are protected, and you know what classifies as protection. And we're all learning on the spot, right? Like we didn't know. Like we're listening to the government, we're like everybody else, and we're like, okay, that'll work. That's all we need to do. And you know,
but it was this ability to, you know, to steer your team and have the ability for you guys to innovate together, to change, because not all teams are able to change as quickly like that. So you clearly had built this culture.
I've got great staff. And I mean, and then, like I said, we're going back to guys that genuinely care. Right. Like there's guys going like, I don't know if this will work. This should be done this way. And like, it was a really cohesive group together, you know, in designing these things, because there was no standards, no specs.
Right.
So it was just like, here, this should work. And then we learned, you know, we're doing it at nail salons, we're doing it at banks, we're doing it, you know, everywhere. And then there was a shortage, so we had to figure out how to get the product, because it became supply chains were gone. So I was trying to pull things out of BC, I was trying to pull things out of Quebec, out of the States, but they were all dealing with the same thing. So you know, and then how much inventory is too much inventory to bring in? We don't know. Tomorrow's not promised. You know, we're not sure. You know, so
what a thing to go through.
It was a crazy thing, but it really worked out well. And again, gave us something that you know, now we know what to do. You know, but
I mean, who knows? Something around the corner could change with your industry or your business, and you got to pivot again. Or you know, and I mean, the fact that you have the confidence in the team to do that.
That's the thing.
Must be nice
with glass. I mean, I don't want to say it's like plumbing and electrical. It's somewhat recession proof. I mean, to a certain extent, because people got to fix it. You know, you can't leave broken glass. You know, a lot of the buildings, you know, they started boarding up. You know, we were doing a lot of board ups and things like that. And, you know, the city of London used to go around saying you can't have board ups. And I think that's starting to come back again now. So a lot of these business owners that have things boarded up for COVID and other reasons are now having to change the glass and things like that. So we're seeing that a lot more.
Yeah. All right, that's it for COVID talk. I just really wanted to ask that, because I was actually really curious from a business point of view, you know, how that changed your business. That's fascinating. That's interesting.
But it sounds like having the right team made that a little bit easier.
Absolutely, because it wasn't all on my shoulders, right? So it's more like being able to go back to guys that do it all day, every day, and say, look, does this work? Can this work? Will this work?
Now, that's not easy though, right? As a leader, it's your livelihood. You're the one who's like, you're pot heavy, right? Like you're
100%.
You're all in.
But you're only as good as your team. And that's the thing. I'm not the one all day, every day installing the glass anymore. Because if it was me, I'd be out of business. I mean, that's, but I mean, I've got great guys that do great work. And I think that's really what it comes down to, is that, they're the ones that make the money or break the company.
They're empowered to have at her.
Absolutely.
I know you're a hockey guy, as am I and my boys. And I started coaching almost 20 years ago, and I like to shout. When I'm coaching the U8 squad this year, and I ran all the prep skates, and my wife told me she heard afterwards, like from some other parents, like, oh, that guy's intense, eh?
You never know it by this podcast. You're pretty smooth.
And so for me, as I've coached and over the years, it's one of those things where it's difficult for me, because like shouting from the bench, and it wasn't until I had a wedding to go to. And, I'm barking orders from the bench, and this is going back probably 7 or 8 years ago now. And just could not shout from the bench, right?
Yep.
Up the wall.
Yeah.
Get it deep. Like whatever, right? Like whatever it is. Hi, guy. Like you're just shouting, right?
Yep.
And I was going to this wedding, so I couldn't be on the bench, but I could watch the first half of the game from the stands. And you don't want to look like a complete tool shouting from behind the glass as the coach. Yep. So I kept my mouth shut. And it was that moment I'm like, these kids don't need me shouting from the bench. They don't. Like they don't need me shouting from the bench. Huh. Now, I'm not saying that I still don't ever shout from the bench.
But I think once you start shouting, I think you open those floodgates. It makes it a lot easier. So, I've started coaching boxing, and I got into doing that. And for me, I love corner coaching. Yeah, I love yelling. Yeah, hit him with the left. No, move, not that. Whatever you. No, 1, 2. Moving around.
Right.
I love that now. But when I first started, I was terrified. I didn't like. What if I say the wrong thing? Right. What if I don't? If I miss something, if I give them wrong advice. Yeah. But now, now that I've opened the floodgates, it's easy.
Yeah, but it's this push and pull, right? Because sometimes maybe it's necessary, but others so I just found that, and again, it just kind of translate back to what you're talking about in your business, right? Yep. Like it's the micromanagement aspect, right? Yeah. Like at some point you just have to let them go get her done.
And trust that they know what they're doing.
And trust that, if they make a mistake,
well, that's one thing.
Like 50-50 over here could learn probably knows better than anybody. Somebody's going to screw this up. But guess what? Like, so did I. Yeah. Kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think it's good to let them make mistakes or whatever. But the one thing I always know, like switching back over to boxing, is that, you're only as good as your training. And that's, a lot of times those kids won't hear you from the bench. Mm-hmm. They don't understand what you're saying. They don't understand quick enough to understand to make the changes. So they're only as good as the practices that you have, the systems that you set up. And I think that's the one thing I've learned, is that, you're only as good as your training. You fall back to that, right? So I think your brain, you're still developing. These kids their brains are still developing. Everything's like, they're not clicking, right? They're not going to be able to make that quick change and use, up the boards. They're going to have to think about it. They're, getting pucks in deep, but if you practice that, they're going to do it instinctually.
Mm-hmm. You know what I just actually thought of too, and maybe I'll just give myself some relief here is because I still play too. Yeah. Right. And chatter and communication on the ice is so key.
Yeah, it's huge.
Right. And, depending on who I'm playing with, like some guys who play competitively,
where they're going to be.
When you tell them like time or like reverse, like they'll usually follow. Yep. And then some of the guys who maybe haven't played growing up,
100%.
You're telling them that like quick, like he's on you, like no time, or like like reverse, and then they do the opposite, right?
Yep.
And it's maybe it's like they're just that younger kid who hasn't had the reps and the practice, right? Mm-hmm. So I feel like shouting from the bench, sometimes it's like I'm trying to be that voice, like as if I'm on the ice, trying to communicate to the guy, so like he knows. You can be their eyes, right? They're going back into the corner, right? You can kind of be their eyes. So, and then when you're coaching like the U8s and U9s, they're still so young in their hockey journey
100%.
And they're shy, maybe a little timid. So that the talking is difficult for them.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I guess Similarly in business too, I guess you have this roster of these role players, and you may have young, old, experienced, and as the coach, how do you customize your direction, or as the leader, right, of a business, right? And that can be a lot of work if you're leading someone, 5 different people in 5 different ways. How do you bring them all together? But I guess that's that's the culture you create. You create that culture. Yeah, you create that culture, and you've done it. The
one thing we do is I got great loyalty with my guys, and I think the other thing we do is we really do promote from within.
Nice.
I mean, I like to have guys with skills and teach them. I like to teach them to be well-rounded glazers. I like to teach them to be able to do everything. There's other companies, there's other places they'll go, and they may only do one thing. That's their job, and they don't get well-rounded. And I like to be able to send a guy to a job site and he can do everything. So by having a good mentor, so having somebody above that's experienced with somebody new, and we bring them up, and I think that's worked really well with us over the last 20 years. I think. Because again, I've had employees that have been with me the whole time.
Yeah,
and that's in this day and age, it's pretty tough. And I know that there's guys out there they'll dangle that extra $1 or $2 an hour, and they'll look. And I've had guys that have left and came back and said, "I don't know why I left.
Really,
that was crazy. It's always greener. That extra couple dollars, can
But you let them go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Knowing that you may not see them come back.
Correct.
Knowing that you've invested, and this is, I think, sometimes a real difficult thing to understand as a business owner. You get possessive almost. It's like, well, no, I'm the one who trained this kid, and then now the ego comes in.
I'm a loyalty person too, right? So I take it personally.
It hurts.
I take it personally, and it hurts. But the vast majority of them have always come back, and I take the good ones back.
Yeah,
and that's kind of the thing is good trades guys are hard to find, and sometimes it's the best thing for business. Because let them go.
Yeah,
because then they come back, and then they're your best cheerleader. They're like, man, I left. It was stupid.
Now they're really
surprised. I didn't realize the grass isn't always greener, right?
Yeah, it's not.
Thing. It's now just let's go technical for a second. I'm not really sure what you meant by it, and I'm so sure a few listeners are a glazer. What? That could mean a few different things.
I was going to throw that out there. Yeah. So obviously, so in the in the glass world, glass and aluminum, it is a glazer is a person that does the work with glass. Okay. It is a Red Seal certified trade.
Wow.
A glazer metal mechanic. So it's not one that's a plumber or electrician. Everybody knows those, right? But a glazer is actually a Red Seal trade.
Well, I can imagine be quite dangerous. You're working with glass.
Absolutely.
Breaks, and so you really need to know. I didn't even think about this.
That's the one thing I actually told the guy. One thing I've always said is, you need to respect the glass, because the glass isn't going to respect you.
No.
Right? You want to make sure you get home at the end of the day. So you're dealing with broken glass. And some of these times, they can come down like a guillotine. You need to be aware. So that's why safety equipment is very important.
Right. Yeah.
Being aware, having experience, communication. Yeah. So if you're lifting glass and you're talking with someone, obviously you need to communicate. Like, we're lifting now, we're moving now, we're now doing this. Yeah. So it's communication the whole time.
Interesting.
And guys with more experience, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, because sometimes they get complacent.
Right.
Yeah. So it happens. Yeah. But I mean, it's having that youth there sometimes helps. A younger person, because maybe they're not as experienced, and the older guy needs to make sure that they're communicating with them, and that helps them both. So it really works for us. I think that's something that's really worked.
There's something you said, I want to go back to. It just kind of prompted me to make a note. Competition. I always talk about, stay in your own lane. Don't worry about buddy on your left speeding, buddy on your right, going too slow or whatever. Stay in your lane, stay focused on. But at some point, you do have to acknowledge what the competition is doing and understand what they're doing. What level where are you at with, keeping an eye on the competition, but also knowing, what you do is what you do best, and you just stay in your lane?
You said it exactly. We know what our niche is. Yeah. We know exactly where, we are the most competitive. We know what we do the best. Can we do everything? Sure. But we know what we do best. Nice. And I think with our competition, there's some that are better suited for massive jobs. There's some that are better suited for tiny little jobs. I think we got that niche right in the middle. And I think our customer service and quality really differentiates us from our competitors, because I mean, we do a lot of property management companies.
Oh, okay.
I have a lot of guys that are extremely personable, and I love sending them to, they're not jerks. They're not, they're fun, they want to have a good time. They want to make the customer happy. And I mean, that goes a long way. And
it's front line, right? I mean, you go to any Tim Hortons or whatever, you could
100%.
go to one and have a completely different experience than another if the frontline person is really having a good day or giving you the attention. It's these small tweaks,
and it's the difference. And if you're on a construction site, it's one thing, but if you're in somebody's house, totally different. You can't send that same person. Like there's people that are better suited for that, and I think that's where our niche is. Again, we get a very personable crew, and I think it right from our office right through to our techs. I think it makes a big difference.
How many employees?
25.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, do you see a future where you're dangling similar carrots that you were chasing earlier in your career? Like, what's your succation plan look like?
So I'm working on that now. So I'm working on my internal leadership team. I have kind of promoted from within. I have brought guys from out in the field and kind of got them into the spot where I'm trying to make myself less important. And I think as a business owner, that's what you want to do.
I love that. I love that.
And I'm hoping to get to the point where maybe I'm not needed every day. I still like to be needed. I like when I go in the office and everybody's like, oh, this fire, this, that. I still like that part of it. And but I'll be honest, I had my main estimator went away last year for a month, and I had nobody to do his job. So I jumped back into estimating. It was the most fun I've had in years. I loved doing
in the trenches again.
Yeah, I loved it. And now, do I want to do it full time? No, but I mean, it was fun to kind of cover and do things like that. But that also exposed, a couple weaknesses that
what
I had.
happens if he packs it in?
And that's it. So what do we got to do to kind of prevent that and make sure that we have some more crossover training and people can do pick up, so we're not just not doing anything for a month, right? So I think that's that opened up a couple holes in the dam there that we knew, a couple things we had to plug. But I mean, so I think for us that was something for sure. But it is promoting from within and training and getting that internal leadership team. If you can do that, I mean, I think that's a struggle for almost every business. But finding that right person for the right seat, that whole adage. But I mean,
go ahead, Scott.
No, I was going to say, like, how deep is your bench?
Yeah.
Right. How deep is your bench? Right.
Yeah.
Because if it's at your senior estimator, like, do you have that young stud ready to step in
and that's part of the problem. I think so in our industry. I mean, to get a good estimator, it takes 4 years.
Wow.
And then what happens is that guy leaves at that point. Then you're starting again.
Yeah.
And then, the other problem is if I got a senior estimator and a junior estimator, they're basically doing the same job. Do I have enough work to be able to keep them both busy? Am I paying these guys? And that's kind of the problem, that the struggle that I have is, kind of balancing the budget at the end of the year going, I'm paying for a senior estimator for his experience. Hopefully he's mentoring the younger guy. If he's not, then they're separate. And then now I'm trying to get the younger guy up to speed. And then, is it going to get to the point where the old guy retires? And we had that happen during COVID. We had one of our senior guys. He was in the industry over 30 years, retired. And, we were trying to bring up a younger guy, and it was difficult because, like I said, it's a 4-year process to get them to where they're comfortable and not have to check every single thing they do.
Oh man!
And I think that's the thing. And then I did have an estimator leave, and I had to bring up another one. So it was difficult. I mean, that's probably the biggest thing in this industry is having staff and having that loyalty and building that environment that they want to stay and they want to they see that there's a way to progress and get better.
Yeah, it's funny. I just had this with my own business, really, as we're growing quite substantially. Had this kind of aha moment about a month ago where we onboarded a pretty big client, but I really they didn't really know me through the process, and I'm used to being the front guy, the relationship guy, the face, right? Yeah. And this was the first time we landed this client without really much of my help, and they really don't know me. And I'm like, wait a second, right? Like you said, like,
are you okay with that?
Yeah, like that's an interesting kind of thing where become the least important person in your business, right?
Yep.
So it allowed me to kind of like take a step back and be like, okay, what is my long-term plan,
Yep.
you know, in building my bench strength, like said Scott. And
that's hoping to open up more things for you to be able to do, or more free time.
Yeah,
there's
like
more things you can do.
Like start a podcast.
Like start a podcast and talk to awesome people. And it's amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I want to. I know we touched on it a bit, and I can't wait to get to this. I've been dying. The Fight to End event. Oh man, I'm just so like I get goosebumps when I think about it, when I talk about it, when I see it. Man, you have created something in our city that is just phenomenal, and I don't know that you knew what you were creating at the time, and you've created this incredible thing in our city. It's been a monster. Essentially, you've created this whole endeavor and this venture on its own. Essentially, another, you know, can we talk about that? Like the Fight to End. So, how did that start? Like, where did that come from?
So it came from a breakfast with a friend, and I mean, we got together and we knew there was other events out there that, you know, and we've all been a part of. I've been part of running many a different type of events, you know, like you know, galas and things like that. Going back to, you know, with the Red Shoe Society and different you know, big endeavors like that. Having big parties was always something I loved to be a part of for charity and giving back and things like that. And then I've also been a part of, you know, Hockey Helps the Homeless and other events and different things like that. But this was different. So this was something where, you know, we were bringing boxing with entrepreneurs and business leaders and throwing a big party and Vegas style and getting from where, you know, when we got started, not knowing that old thing, you know, you're not knowing what you know, don't know until you know, right? Yeah. So it was so difficult at the beginning, having to deal with, you know, a sanctioned body like Boxing Ontario, having never thrown a boxing club show before, having not been involved in that. And then at the same time, that first year, being a participant, learning how to box.
Right.
And, you know, so, you know, it turned it into almost a full-time job, you know, talking to Boxing Ontario during the day, training at nights, dealing with customers, sponsors, participants, you know, trying to, you know, work with venues and rings and lighting and all the stuff that we knew nothing about at that level. You know, we'd all been a part of, you know, hosting stuff at RBC Place before, but getting to that point was just insane. So it, you know, we created a committee and, you know, drew on the strengths of a lot of people, and you know, we knocked out the first year and we did great. You know, having never done it before, we had $80,000 for YOU, which is amazing. You know, and that was something that we did not expect. But you know,
YOU Youth Opportunities
Unlimited. Yep. So I mean, you know, I knew about them from work with other charities and other events I've done, and you know, we approached some other charities at the time, and they were like, boxing, no.
Right.
You know, but YOU kind of jumped in with 2 feet, and they're like, yeah, absolutely, let's do this. This sounds amazing, and they supported us, and we found the people, pulled on the networks that we had, you know, reached out to people and had to convince them, like, hey, what do you think about boxing? Okay, what do you think about doing boxing and getting punched in the face? You know,
so can you explain to the listeners if they don't really know what the event is,
what it is, and what year are we in here?
Yeah, so this is our fourth year. We lost a couple, obviously, due to COVID.
Sure.
But 2019 was our first year, and what it is it's local entrepreneurs, business leaders, politicians. You train at a sanctioned boxing gym with boxing coaches and other boxers, and they essentially teach you how to box. We're really working on defense more than offense, because again, these are beginners.
Yourself.
And it is. Keep those hands up. Move those feet. All the fun stuff. But so we've taken them through that, and it's the first year was 16 weeks. The last few years we've gone up to 18 weeks because we wanted a little bit more training. But that's what we've done, is we lead them through somewhat of a boxing fantasy camp.
So cool.
I know.
And cool. You get to the end of it. You match up, and the main event is at the convention center, and it's one heck of a party.
Well,
and
you
it's
guys
sold out right now. Like, it's
it is
coming
sold
up
out.
in November.
it's
It's sold out.
It's
like,
the event, and you guys have raised a ton of money.
Yeah.
haven't
So
you?
we talked about it. The first year, we were 80,000. Then we lost 2 years, and we were like, is anybody going to buy back into this? Is this, we had all this momentum, things were going great,
Right.
and then we blew it out of the park and got 300,000 our first year back.
Shit.
And then last year we've raised 350.
Oh my God.
And this year,
and all that goes to
straight
youth
to
opportunities.
youth opportunities.
And for those who don't know,
Yeah.
their building is getting close. It took a long time. I was
Yeah.
at a breakfast a couple years ago, and I heard the news that they got that new spot at York and Richmond.
Is that Jones Place?
Jones Place,
Is that
yeah,
what that
correct.
is? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and it's getting close.
Yeah.
But man, you guys must be a big part of
We
helping.
are. We're one of the
helping,
single largest donors for that, which is incredible. So the first year we actually did their youth shelter.
Yeah.
So the youth shelter on Clark Road that they have, we fully furnished that. So we furnished all the rooms with that 80,000. We furnished the beds and the dressers and all the stuff that went along with that. And then the last few events, including this one, is going to Jones Place, and to watch the progression of that. My business is about a block away, so I get to see it almost on a daily basis and see the transformation that it's making, and I know that the difference it's going to make in the city.
And that's where I was going to go next, because it's no secret, man. You drive around town here, and homelessness is it's not great, not even close. And you wonder, like, okay, well, what's the answer and what's the impact? But if you want to know, spend some time getting to know YOU.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it can start with the youth, right? And those teenage years, those young adults. And that, I think, is where a lot, like, again, it's hard to see the impact, but if you sniff around and look a little closer at YOU, and there's other orgs in town that are doing great things too, but that's a real good place to start.
I think for me as a parent, obviously, a lot of the charities that I get involved with do involve, youth. And I think the one thing that hit me with YOU and staggering facts that I didn't know is 26% of the homelessness in London is youth.
Really?
Which is
It's
scary.
huge.
I
And I
didn't
think,
know that.
and
that is way
awful.
too high.
Yeah, it's terrible. And again, a lot of times it's not their choice that they're there.
They just had a shitty hand.
Yeah.
They just dealt.
Yeah.
They
And
were
that's-
dealt a shitty hand.
That's it. So that's the part that got me, is that it's not like a guy that became addicted to drugs and drinking and stuff like that, and he ruined his own life. This is a child that probably, like you said, got dealt that bad hand, and they just we're all products of our environment, and I think for that part of it is that it's tough for these kids, and they need somebody.
They
need
don't know any different.
No, they need those wraparound supports to pull them out of the gutter that they're in.
Show them that there's more out there, and I think that, and like, talk about getting emotional. Some of the stories of the success stories out of that org. I mean, I getting literally goosebumps just thinking about it.
They're literally making a difference in these
Yeah.
people's lives, and you watch these people that that have gone through the program and have had these supports, and they become business owners themselves, and then you see them kind of giving back themselves, and it's just full circle. And I love that, because I know we had participants last year that literally went through the system, that went through the YOU system or similar system that literally saved their life, got them on a path and got them focused on a career and learning skills and job skills, and they had that support.
And this facility is going to make, like, as good as they've done. This is going to open.
Oh, it is. It's a whole other thing.
200 spaces or
well,
something?
there are 35 rooms and
35 rooms,
roughly, I think. But they've got also, it's just
programs
that they have there, and the supports. And I mean, for a lot of the single mums, and having rooms where the dad can also be involved and different things. So it's still trying to keep that family together if you want that family together, or supervised visits, or different things like that they've got set up, and these services that they got. That's what got me with unbelievable organization to partner with.
Yeah.
So the show is sold out. So
It is.
for any of you who are thinking about grabbing a ticket, we're sorry. However, Alex is going to hook us up in the show notes.
Yeah.
Right, Alex?
You can sponsor
You can
fighters.
donate.
Yeah, I mean,
there's still a way to contribute. You may not miss or see the action. You might miss some of the action, but you can still do your part.
Yeah. And I mean, all of our old ones are on YouTube, so you can go see any of the old fights.
It's an amazing event. I've seen. I haven't been yet. I've seen him. My cousin's actually fighting in this one, so I'm going to be part of his support, his marketing team to help him raise money or whatever. But that'll be my contribution. But I mean, Brett, like, yeah, no, that is just I guess it's like, you're a business owner and you see the issues with homelessness in our city, and you're like, fuck this, I'm going to do something about it.
I'm a Londoner. I mean, I see it. I see your
city,
right? It's my city. I see it. This is a city that, has given me so much, has allowed me to do what I do. I live a very blessed life. I love my wife. We do, we travel around, she's one of the top agents, real estate agents in the city, and she's phenomenal. And that allows us the freedom to be able to do that. I mean, we live a very blessed life. I mean, and it's nice that we can, host these type of events and do these types of charity things to give back. And I mean, for me, that means so much. And I mean, it's not about anything other than just doing that. I love that part of it.
Now, on that note, I'm going to rewind the clock a little bit on myself. And, because, often think about charity, think about cutting checks, right?
Yeah.
Because the money helps.
Yeah. Money does help.
But there's somebody out there who don't have the money, right? You're just barely scraping by on your own. And that doesn't mean you can't help. That doesn't mean you can't make an impact. You can volunteer. Just because you got 40 hours worth of high school hours to get through on, doesn't mean it's got to stop at 40.
Yeah. And I always thought that, my time was worth more than me writing a check. I've always felt that way, that I'd rather get involved than just write a check. I love hosting events. I love doing these type of things, or being involved in committees and helping, raise more money for charity. I'd rather, do it myself.
Now, and again, for those young listeners out there who maybe have an entrepreneurial spirit, talking about networking earlier, honestly, if you don't have the money and you're trying to expand your network and you want to maybe make an impact, the people you're going to meet on some of these committees, right? Yeah. The Bretts of the world. Yeah. They're willing to help you
100%
and support you. And you can open up so many doors that you didn't even know existed if you just put yourself out there.
And that's where I started. I started with any committee I could get on. That's where how I started, is that, I had no aspirations to be a leader of a committee or an event. I just wanted to give back. And then it kind of progressed from there. And then it got to we had a couple during COVID where we totally pivoted and went online. And we had a charity event called London Gives. And London Gives Back. We did the 2 years for COVID where I couldn't do any other event because all the convention centers were closed down and everything like that. So we did online events. And, we had great committees with that. People that wanted to give back. We pulled people in for that. And again, got to raise, 15, 20, 25,000 for, YOU and other charities and stuff like that. But it's about, putting yourself out there and finding time to, give back. I mean, fit that into your schedule.
Yeah, and there's a selfish element there too. It can help.
It does.
You're giving back, but
it's good for business.
It's the reciprocation thing we talked about earlier.
It's good for the soul, which is tough for a ginger like me to say, but it's good for it's good for the soul. But
I got to ask you though, Brett. You're running this, amazing glass business. You started this event, and having known you for a few years, you're so calm all the time. What do you do to stay balanced? And I know I ask this of all of our guests, but I'm just fascinated by the mental health aspect, the balance. How do you balance family? You travel a lot, but you're always so calm. What's your secret? What's the secret? What do you?
Ryan could use some advice.
For myself,
having that good support system and finding that balance. You have to make it. It's not going to just happen for you. So I think for me, I mentioned my wife. My wife is my rock as well too. She's phenomenal. And my favorite thing that she ever did for me is that I was one of those guys that I'm going to travel when I retire. And the line that she used on me was, I'm not going to look this good in a bikini when you retire. So I said, the second she said that, I'm like, let's go travel.
Where are we going?
So wherever you want to go. So, I think
somewhere hot. Where
it's funny. So our first trip was a big one. We went to South Africa, which was unbelievable. Right. So, but since then we've traveled around.
Did she even put on a bikini? Like,
yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But, and she looks phenomenal in a bikini. So I was a very happy man. So, but that's the thing. Like, you having that person that can put up with you, because again, I'm not always. I'm a Jekyll and Hyde sometimes.
Sure.
I'm a roller coaster. I'm an emotional person.
Yeah.
So I think growing up, I had anger issues growing up. I think sports actually really helped me kind of focus into finding a way to an outlet for that. Yeah. And I think as an adult, being able to have those coping mechanisms all came from my youth. So again, jumping back to that product of our environment type thing, is that I had these coping skills, and I see a lot of kids now that they don't have these coping skills. I have 2 kids that are 19 and 16 turning 17, and I worry some days. I look at these kids, and it's terrifying. And I coach boxing now with these kids that are 14 to 16, and it's terrifying. That they don't have the resilience. The mental health part of it is so huge right now. And so jumping back for me, it's just finding that balance and making that time to take that vacation. But that all falls back to me having that internal leadership to allow me the time to take time off work or take time away to make me better.
And it makes me think even just what the title of our pod is, Hustle and Grind, right? Because you talked about there's 7 years where you nearly burnt yourself out.
I did. Yeah.
Right. And it's okay to hit the pause button. Yeah. You don't have to be 24/7 for 7 straight years.
It's tough.
Right. Yeah. Because it puts a pressure on the family and friends and but B, you're not at your best. Right. Like,
good point.
Like, there's a reason why the NFL plays once a week.
That's right.
Right? If you ever watch like quarterback or receiver on Netflix, like the shit those guys go through,
their body, their mind,
post game, getting ready for the following week, like the recovery. Right. And that's a dramatic and extreme, and I get it. Like, that's the NFL. We're not talking about NFL right now, but I don't think it's far off as far as that relatability. Like, yes, there's an element of hustle and grind for sure, right? You can't just be sitting with your feet up in your bikini in the lounger and expect the world to just rotate around you.
Unless you're a realtor, because actually you can actually sell houses while you're doing that. So I've witnessed this. So it's
your wife,
unbelievable.
Not listening. Is she?
But she will be. I'm for sure. Yeah,
I know she will. She's great. She's
but check in, have some awareness, self-awareness, right? Like, are you pushing too hard? Do you need to pull back? Can you find a way to rejuvenate? Can you keep going without
what puts gas back in the tank? That's what you got to find, right? So for me,
good one.
For me, I mean, that's the thing. By the end of the day, that tank is empty. And I think the one thing that I talk, going back to having that partner that's supportive, realizing that I can't always have that full tank when I come home, and knowing that let me have a little decompressed time. Let me have my little time to myself, and then then I'll be awesome. Just let me fill that gas tank back up. Let me just surf social media mindlessly for a half hour. Let me, get some emails done. Let me just, decompress. And then we call it decompress. And if I can do that, that's what I need.
Tank fills up, you're ready to go again tomorrow.
Then I'm good. Or at least I'm at a half tank. I'm a lot better than at empty. So
we could do this all day.
I know. This is a busy guy, though. We got to let him go at some point. So I don't know. I mean, this has been everything. Man, I felt like this was like 2 minutes. I feel like I can talk to you for 10 hours. But I mean, Brett, like, it's been everything that I imagine, man.
As soon as the offer went up, absolutely. Hey, if you're not in, you're in the way, right? That's it.
There you go.
It's. I mean, everything you're doing for our city as a business owner, very inspiring as a mentor. I'm sure to a lot of younger aspiring business owners. I mean, thanks for coming on, man. It's been great, like just getting your insights and your experience and seeing how really you can climb that. Like, there's opportunities everywhere, like Scotty, like you said, right? Internally, externally.
You got to be open to the idea, right? Because if you're not open and you think you got it figured out, opportunities are slipping by left and right. It just have that openness. Be aware of what's going on around you, and you never know.
Yeah. So Provincial, How do we find you and your businesses?
Provincial Glass is all over social media.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, just at provincialglass.com. And obviously,
and then Fight to End as well.
Fight to End, same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fight to End, you find them there as well, too. And yeah.
Good. And the Fight to End, right now it's Fight to End Homelessness, but that could be an open-ended, like that could be Fight to End other things too.
It could. When we started, that was the major thing. And it still is a major thing in the city.
Yeah.
And I think it's
good for you.
Yeah. So we'll see what next year brings.
Awesome. Okay.
Thanks,
well,
man.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
Be well.
Awesome, guys.
Okay. Good stuff.
Alex is giving us a
Oh,
nod
wait
here.
a second. What do we got to do? We got to have a shot. Brett brought, for the listeners, Brett brought some shots here.
Snitches get stitches, eh? Okay.
Yeah,
You're just going to throw me right under there.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
Alex, you realize there's 4 there too.
There is 4,
So
Alex.
You're not immune from this.
I don't know.
Math
20%.
was one of my good skills there. So
Maybe
I think,
maybe that'll be for later. I got to pick the kids up from school right now.
Yeah.
I don't know if the teachers are gonna be like,
yeah, you're a good dad. You're a good dad. Yeah.
It's
All
not on my meal plan right now either. I'm not drinking.
We'll just sit here
I'm
and
not
stare
drinking
at
at the
them
moment.
for the next hour. Oh man,
Enjoy it when you
Okay.
can, boys.
Yeah,
That's what
absolutely.
it's about. That's
All
what
right.
life's
Well,
like.
with that, yeah, let's we'll do this again with
little promo for
on the
Island Thunder
weekend.
here.
All right, take
Thanks,
care.
guys. That's a wrap.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Perfect.
All right, there it is, my man.
Not
Beautiful.
bad.
Nailed it.
Beautiful. Gentlemen,
Hey,
thank you very much.
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah.
Another great episode. Thanks for joining us. Please support our podcasts. By supporting us, you can go to YouTube, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, go to our website, hustleandgrindpod.com. That way you can go and you can apply to be a guest. Listen to us anywhere that you listen to your podcast, Spotify, Apple, all the channels. But we really appreciate your support. Keep listening. We have a lot of great episodes and a lot of great guests ready to go. We're going to keep coming hard at you here and digging into the hustle and grind of what it takes to be an entrepreneur and a business owner.